Hello everyone, and welcome to my world tour for my beta 1.7.3 Minecraft world. I started this world back in June of 2024 and have been working on it ever since. Start off with what I've been working on for the past month and a week. This is my newest area. I don't have a name for it as of right now, but it's supposed to be sort of like a medieval fantasy type city, town, village, whatever. Um, and this was the first building that I made. Um, Initially, I referred to it as a guild hall, but I'm not really sure what I want it to be right now. Because, I mean, I still kind of consider it a guild hall, but it's not really a guild hall. It's also empty on the inside right now, so I don't know what I'm going to do with this place right now, but I am going to continue working on it, and hopefully I'll figure it out soon. Up here we have sort of the towers on the side. Might have seen on the outside they're sort of like wizard hat towers. They have hat. Their roofs are like shaped like a hat for a wizard. And I don't know. I could just imagine someone living in here, minding their own business. Ever. There's another one over here. You can see through the window, sort of what I'm referring to. And yeah, as I said, this area is completely empty. I'm thinking of doing like a little residence out of the area. Maybe separate into different floors and yeah, try to figure out what I'm gonna do with this place. Sorry if sorry if I sound a little shy. This is kind of my first time recording a video, so I don't really know what to say. Out here we have the little village. Yeah, you can see the tower, some flags. The flag colors are kind of like the heraldry, as I refer to it. So this sort of, so the flags are kind of just like, I mean, you know what country flags are. Those are kind of like the country flag colors of this area. And so you have a little village here, little log piles, pumpkins. Made these houses. I kind of had the idea of wanting to do different houses for different parts of the city. So for example, these houses, they're very like cobblestone with roofs that look like this. Windows with trapdoors on the side. You have little ponds. These are naturally generated ponds that I just decided to incorporate into the build. I really wanted to really integrate the natural terrain generation into my build, and a lot of what I've done here, for example, like the trees, and you know, I'm not terraforming the area, except for a bit I'll show over there. So yeah, you can see it's very hilly here. Yeah, I don't really have much to say about these houses. They're also fairly empty. Maybe I'll do something with them later, but for now, they're just kind of sitting here. I do have some little docks here. These are like, I imagine these houses are like for fishermen. That house has some furnaces out front, so I imagine, and that's for like a blacksmith or whatever. No, then you get over here, and you see, as I said, different style houses with sort of the stone first floor, and then the second floor is made of logs and wool. And then we have some like farmland out here, separated by fences, more pumpkins. A little shed here. I thought this would be a cool idea, having like a little bridge between the two houses with little windows that you could look out. And yeah, go into this house. You can just go walk out, go to the other second floor of the other house. Again, very empty. Not much to say about the inside. And the little pond. This is the house that I've been living out of, sort of. So you can see my bed, furnace, crafting table. I thought this was a nice house. Go out here, you'll see like little, I don't know what you refer to this architecture, but like sort of like medieval castle-y, and then you just have the wood and wool combo again. Little flowers out front. Here I have some market stalls, half-finished market stalls. Eventually I'm going to, eventually I want to populate this area, not necessarily with people, but with builds to make it look less empty. And as I said, this is the only area where I've terraformed, as you can tell, because it's flat. I just kind of wanted a flat sort of square, town square for city, because I thought that would make the most sense. Little fountain here. And yeah. This town, that town, big building here. That's pretty much all that has been built over here. Again, I started this build in the new year. I started this build in January. So I am currently working on it. It'll come along later on, but this is what I've had so far. I did think having this part was pretty cool. Having sort of like a bridge underneath with little archways. And initially I thought about having the market stalls be in here. I thought it'd be cool to have like a little underground market area here, but I realized that it might be a bit too small to fit like market stalls, whatever. I'm going to be repeating my words a lot. But yeah, so I decided to move the market over there, and this area probably will be like residence or maybe something else. I don't know. I'll figure it out later. Yeah. But then we'll have to walk to the next area because we're, as you can see, quite far away. 2,000 blocks out from spawn. But yeah. So I built all this over here. I decided I wanted to build it in a plains biome because I thought that would make my job easier. I wanted to have sort of a flat land where I could build a bunch of buildings. I didn't really want huge mountains because well, because of it would be hard to build stuff on. Maybe, well, you can see there's a huge mountain right there, not super far away from all the builds. Maybe I'll do something there, like, I don't know, lighthouse, tower, something. I'll figure it out later, but this is what I've got and done so far. So yeah, we're gonna be walking for a bit. I have different settlements sort of scattered around the world. I just kind of move to a different place whenever I have a different idea. I don't want ideas to clash together. Like I don't want sort of like a modern style building clashing with something that looks more medieval. Right. Doesn't look like we have any wool, so I think I'll just have to continue walking until we get to our next settlement. It should be that far. I know I have an area with a bed nearby. And over here, it's kind of hard to see because it's nighttime, but I did build a little sort of abandoned structure over here. Creepers. Ooh. Very dangerous over here. Don't blow up. There's another creeper. Oh, there it is. There we go. Let me sleep. There we go. Yeah, so this is probably my newest build. I built this a couple days ago. Make sure there's no mods. I built this sort of like abandoned house out in the middle of nowhere. I thought it'd be pretty aesthetically pleasing. I kind of like the idea of having sort of remnants of civilization, but there's really no life to it. It's kind of broken down. And actually my main inspiration on this is Fortnite, because in Fortnite there's a lot of like abandoned buildings scattered around the map. And I kind of wanted to do something like that. Kind of have like a rundown abandoned house. Use some iron blocks there. That's kind of expensive. I don't have a lot of iron, so I just kind of had to use what I had. But yeah, this build only took me like an hour or two to get done. It was pretty easy. And I think it looks nice. Again, I kind of like the idea of having ruins scattered around my world because, you know, in beta there's not any structures besides dungeons, so I kind of like the idea of making my own structures, make my own like ruins that future travelers could find and explore. And so maybe I'll do more of those later on. But now we get to the taiga, and this will be in where our next area will be. Still quite a few ways away, but we'll get there. I guess while I'm walking, I can explain like why I started this world, why I do what I do. Yeah, as I said, I started this world about a year and a half ago in June of 2024. Initially, I started this world in beta 1.0, and my idea initially was that I wanted to update the world through all the versions up until the modern versions. And I started this world kind of as like a summer project. I wasn't really planning on playing in this world after that summer, but as I updated through the beta versions, and as I continue to work on this world, I found myself actually really liking playing in beta. But eventually, after the summer, even after the summer, I just kind of stayed in beta 1.7.3 because I didn't want to ruin the aesthetic of beta. And I've just kind of been building in this world ever since. I did have like I kind of briefly took a break from this world after the summer to focus on school stuff. College was starting up, and I didn't want anything getting in the way of that, obviously. So I took a break from this, but then after my second semester was done, I kind of got back into it again. And that's when, you know, I started building a lot more things in various areas. Yeah, that initial summer that I started playing on this world, I mainly only built around the spawn area. I didn't really build outside except for one little structure I built while exploring. So all the structures outside of the spawn area were built after I came back to this world after a long break. And during that long break, I had learned a lot more about beta and a lot more about like what I can do in this version. So a lot of the structures I built in my spawn area are going to be kind of different compared to everything else. But yeah, so I've been playing this world for a while now. It's definitely come a long way, and I'm quite proud of it actually. I'm quite proud of what this world has become because I haven't had a single player survival world that has lasted this long. Honestly, there's my railway. So yeah, this world's truly become something special for me. Alright, so we come here on this railway, and this will take us to the next settlement that I built. This is actually the second settlement that I built after the spawn area. This was the thing that I came. This was what I built after I got back. Like, this was the first thing I decided to build because I thought a winter village would be a very cool idea. So, you can see it spawn in the distance. So this is what I. This is the initial idea that got me back into beta. And this world I built after sort of I finished working on the village because I wanted to connect in this spawn area with the snow village to make it easier to travel between. And yeah, this took me 2 weeks to build from here, like 1,000 blocks out, all the way to somewhere over there that we'll see later. Yeah, here's this. Here's a snow village. I built this tree for Christmas. I actually built all these lights for Christmas too, all these decorations. So we have a little bar area here with a little seating. This is all built by a friend of mine who I invited on this world. They wanted to build something, and we decided on like a bar that they could build. So this is their contribution to the area. All of these houses with the clay and wood, I don't know what I'm blanking on what you refer to them. But all this is, these were my builds. As you can see, very similar style to the houses that were in the medieval city area. Unlike the medieval city area, these are all at least somewhat furnished. See, we have a chest here, some furnaces, crafting table, stairs, more chests, and a bed, and some lights. So they're a bit more detailed. Little snowman that I built, make this place feel a bit more lively. All these houses here are relatively the same. A little greenhouse, also built by my friend. As you can see, very different style compared to everything else around here. I thought this house was kind of cool, having this little pathway going up, and then you have a little lookout area over here, and then you have the big house here. So I like this house. Little tower here. I wanted to have a little lookout tower for, like, if mobs came, someone came to like ransack the city, where like the little lookout people would warn everyone. I have little igloos over there for, like, I don't know, people living on the ice. There's little holes in them that have with water so people can ice fish. Here's all my loot for, as I said, I live in some of these houses. So this is the house that I lived in this area. Some diamonds, some gold. Lots of goodies, little jukebox. And yeah. So we have the igloos over here. They have little lights, dirt surrounding, because, the light burns through the glass. Then we have this little hole for people who want to ice fish. I've actually fallen through the hole many times, it's hard to get out. Yeah, and these igloos are all practically the same as one another. About to turn to then. Yeah, this is the second area that I've built in this world. Again, I felt pretty proud of this area. And this is sort of like again, as I said, this is sort of the area that got me back into playing beta, because I wanted to build more. I want to learn how to build more in this version, and I found that by building this village, I realized just how relaxing playing in beta was. So we'll kind of get on to my next area. Then this is sort of like gonna be sort of like a mini area coming up next. It isn't as far of a walk as it took from the medieval area over to here, but it is still a bit of a walk. As I said, I kind of spaced out these areas, and also I wanted to, find the right environment for all the different areas. So yeah. So as we approach the area, we'll kind of see it load in over there. Not a tall structure, but it's definitely noticeable over the trees. It also doesn't blend in well with the surrounding area, so yeah, you could kind of see it over there. Um, I didn't bring a boat. Have to go around, but you might have already seen part of what it might say, so you might know what's coming up next. But yeah, if we come over here, we should be able to see. But there's a lot of pit. Try to avoid that. The Walmart. Yes, so I know there's a big meme going around, like, oh, find a nice, beautiful area and build a big Walmart and parking lot over it. And I think I saw someone make that comment on like some YouTube video or live stream or something, and I just thought it would be a funny idea, so I decided to actually build it. And yeah, this kind of serves both as just a fun build and also sort of like an environmental message, because like I had to plan a whole area to build all this, obviously. And I actually took a screenshot, I think, from like, yeah, up there. You might see a little cobblestone up there. I took a screenshot from there of this area before I built the Walmart versus after I built the Walmart. And so I kind of wanted to do like something environmental, like, oh, don't ruin the environment with all these big builds or whatever. Yeah, I still believe in the environment, obviously. But I think this is a pretty cool build. I used a lot of different blocks. Like, obviously, I used all the different wools here. I actually have all the different wools on display over here. I thought it'd be cool to have, like, shelves with chests sort of, like, sparsely placed in between. I thought that'd be, like, a nice alternative. Like, you could actually store stuff in these chests on these shelves. And then we have the, like, freezer areas, more chests. Yeah, so all of this is kind of decorative, but I also kind of made them sort of functional. Leaves, kind of like imagine them as like cabbage or vegetables or whatever. Over here we have the electronics section, so like this is where all the video games are. It's like blue for PlayStation, green for Xbox, and then red for Nintendo. I think I kind of tried to order them how they're usually at my Walmart, but I think PlayStation and Xbox are swapped around. I kind of forget. Over here we have the TVs with little paintings on them. Over here we have like the little register, more shelves in between. Here we have the boys and girls bathroom. So you go in here, little gravel stalls, do your business over here. And yeah, I kind of like the idea of having like the other bathroom being sort of like the window or the mirror. I think like a lot of old school Minecraft theme parks did this trick a lot, where they'd have like a bathroom and then like the mirror would be just the other stall. I think it's a cool idea. I want to try it out. Over here, McDonald's. You have your hamburger with cheese, Big Mac, McNuggets, soda pop McFlurry, milkshake coffee. Um, this is kind of the design of this is kind of based off of an old video. I think it's called like Notch in Minecraft or whatever, and it's this super old Minecraft video where Notch actually visited this guy's classic Minecraft world, and for a brief moment they go into a McDonald's that has like tables that look like this. The ordering area kind of looks like this, and I kind of wanted to pay an homage to that. So this isn't an exact copy, but it is kind of like in a similar style. So yeah, that's kind of the that's the air. That's kind of most of the area. I built this giant parking lot here. Over here is where I kept all my supplies. And that's pretty much, yeah, as I said, that's pretty much all of what this area is. Just this giant Walmart in the middle of nowhere. I thought that, I thought that was kind of like a funny idea to have this giant Walmart in the middle of just like a forest, flatland. I kind of wanted to have, I kind of wanted to build it in a flatland, but I couldn't find any areas that were big and flat enough. So I just built in this sort of like hilly forest area. Yeah, we can take this another portal too. Actually, the spawn area. I was going to just take the railway, but probably be faster. Um, I haven't really used the Nether all that much in this world. Actually, I first went into the Nether specifically to get like glowstone for my Walmart build. So yeah, for like the first year of this world's existence, I never went into the Nether actually. I kind of just traveled around the overworld. So I only have two portals in this world. You can kind of, I've kind of connected them both with just this long tunnel. And I occasionally go here just for like glowstone or whatever I need for my Minecraft build. And then we come up here. And oh, no, no. Don't want to get blown up. Oh well, we'll fix that later. Then here's our, no, no, no. Right over here. So we come through this nether portal and wait. But if you're familiar at all with Minecraft YouTuber stuff, you might recognize this area. This area is actually based on Past Life, the Life series. So we have the lighthouse here. We have the bread pyramid. We have the giant Pokeball and pagoda over there. We have the cabin, the hot tub time machine, and then the L base over there. And I'm a big fan of the Life series, so when I found out they were doing a Past Life, I thought it'd be a good idea to actually recreate their structures block by block. And so I literally like scrolled through their videos, just trying to capture every single angle I could get of all their builds to try to get it as accurate as possible. And I think I did a pretty good job. I recreated all their builds exactly how they were in episode 2, because that was the episode that they were in beta 1.7.3 for. So yeah, these are obviously they expand on these in later episodes, but this is just how they were in episode 2. But here we are, close to the spawn area. You'll actually see this area being where I initially started. These are all the structures that I built in the first couple months of this world's existence. But we'll come over, we'll save that for a bit later. If we come over here, this is an area that was built by a friend of mine that I invited on the server. Actually, the same friend that built the bar area in the Snow Village area. So they built everything over here except for just a little village style house that I built right there, and also the statue that's right there. So they built all of this, and they're kind of like a modern Minecraft player. They play more in the modern versions. So beta isn't really their style, but as a token of appreciation for at least coming on, giving it a try, and building this area up, I decided to build this statue for them in their honor. It is of their Minecraft skin holding a giant sword. So yeah, this is their area. A little windmill, a little watermill house. That was what I built. Have these giant farm areas that occasionally get trampled by mobs. Storage house, and then this is also their house with a little dog, little goober. Yeah. And then over there, we got my spawn area. Any boats nearby? There's no boats nearby. Okay. So here's more of the railway. This extends to the same railway that we saw at the Snow Village, so you can go all the way from here, all the way over there. And this also goes over there to another area that we'll be seeing later on. I built all of this railway. I did everything from building the pathways to gathering all the iron and gold for the rails to placing all the torches and rails down. The structures up there, you'll see some little houses up there. Those were built by some other people that I invited on the server. I'm not going to check them out because there's not really much of note up there, but those were little houses that were built by some friends, and I really do appreciate that. They would come on and at least contribute a little bit to this world. So here's the spawn area, and if we come over here, this little wool block actually marks out where I spawned in for the first time. And I've actually taken multiple pictures from this spot. Every time I'd update the spawn area, I'd take a new picture to sort of relive the memories, sort of like do a time lapse of, you know, as things progressed. And I just thought it'd be nice to document, you know, how this place has grown over the year and a half that's existed. Over here we have a little village. This village I decided to just build on a whim. As you can tell, it's in the style of old release 1.0 villages. Yeah, all the houses are built very faithfully. I always wanted to build all my things very faithfully if they're a reference to something. In here we have a mob farm. So come down here, and I have this little chute here. I'll just dispense all the items that are from the mobs, so they get burned in the lava, and then most of their loot gets dropped. Some of it might get burned. I already have a lot of stuff here, so I don't really need to collect anymore. But yeah, finally getting on to the main area, the first area that I ever built. Um, yeah, this is the spawn area. So when I initially spawned in, I saw this island in the middle of this vast lake, and I thought that'd be a cool area to settle on. And I built this little house over here that was kind of my starter house. And the design of it is kind of intentional. I kind of want to build it in the style of how I'd build houses back in the day, back in like 2012, 2013 area. So it's just kind of like a simple wooden box with glass windows, and then like some furnaces, and like a second floor with some beds here, some loot over there. And then this balcony area was a later addition. Actually it was very recent that I added this. And I just thought it'd look cool. I thought it'd look nice. In fact, this entire area is kind of a reference to how I'd build things back in the day. So like I remember there was one Pocket Edition world that I built where I built this kind of like, I don't know what you'd call it, but just like an open box kind of thing with chests that have like little signs that labeled what was the Amy's chest and all. So like you'd have natural block, building blocks, tools, sword, armor, animal stuff. I don't know what this chest was for, but yeah, a little office building. Another thing I built back in the day. Actually, this is the second thing that I built. This is another tower for like lookout. In fact, I haven't even updated the ladders in this thing, so you can't actually climb up it. Yeah, I built this in a version before you needed like ladders connecting everything, so yeah, I think I'm kind of just gonna keep it. I think I'm just gonna keep the ladders as they are, just for like memory's sake. I don't really need this tower anyways, so it's just gonna kind of sit here. Um, Another thing that kind of a reference, just this giant glass box. And initially I had a gold block with like TNT in here, but I eventually removed it and added, or just like making my valuables area. So you have lapis and diamonds in there. Little dog house, a little dog. This was made on a different account. This dog's from a different account, so I can't make him sit up, but I'm just gonna sit there. Doesn't need to move at all. Another thing that I built over here is the Eiffel Tower. Um, I kind of just free-handed this. This is kind of like the most complex thing that I've ever free-handed before because it's all like, you have like little holes and weird angles that you have to work with. But I think it turned out pretty well. And I'd go on to build more Eiffel Towers later on that looks much better than this, but this was the first, and honestly, I still quite like it. Um, Another house that's kind of like a reference, just a giant wooden house with, I don't know, I didn't really have plans for what I wanted to build in here. I just kind of like build little, kind of like a workshop area with crafting tables. I think I wanted furnaces over there, but I forgot. But yeah, I didn't have any plans for this giant build. I just wanted to build it. All this kind of stuff here is just stuff on a whim. And then over here, we have, well, you might be able to recognize what these are supposed to be. Yes, they are supposed to be the Twin Towers. I didn't really have any malicious intent with this build. I just thought they'd look cool. And yeah, I think these took like, I think each tower took like a week or two to build. I had to gather a lot of wood and smelt all this glass. And also, I think I built this in beta, like either beta 1.5 or beta 1.6. And for some reason in that version, you couldn't place a fence on top of another fence. So what I'd have to do is I'd have to place like, oh, I would have to place like 3 sand blocks on top of one another, place a fence on top of this, and then I'd have to break the sand below it, place another fence, break the sand below it, place another fence, break the sand below it, place another fence. And I had to do that for all of this. So that definitely ate up some time for me. And I really like the view of this area. This was, I mean, it goes to world height. You can see, I think it goes to world height anyways. Maybe a bit, it goes a bit taller. But it pretty much goes about as high as a Minecraft world can go. And this was like the tallest structure that I'd built up to this point, and I thought having this view of the world was just very nice. Yeah. And then we have another tower. That tower is pretty much identical to this one, so I won't go up it. But yeah, again, no malicious intent with either of these. I just thought they would look cool in this world. And yeah. And then over here, we have little like cottage style houses with like a little dock porch thing, little farm. And then these houses have like little beds and chests with food in them. I kind of imagine these as kind of like starter homes. So like anyone who comes to this world who might like spend their first day just kind of like looking around, and just come to these houses and sleep in the beds for now before they go out and find their own place to make their base. And then this is another idea that I thought was very cool, having giant pinwheels. And these are kind of like stand-ins for windmills. I kind of like this idea because I kind of always had the imagination of having like giant windmills, but instead of like traditional windmills, they're pinwheels. And I just thought that was thought that was sort of like a very magical idea, very whimsical. And I thought, why not build this in my Minecraft world? So I decided to build these pinwheels, all completely designed myself. I think I designed them in a creative world first before I transferred them over to beta. I don't usually try to do that. I like to freehand a lot of my things, but for more complex things, I'll go into creative first. So, yeah. Oh, I kind of passed by this part of the main island. Um, this was sort of like the last thing that I built before I kind of took my break. I had plans to build a giant dock with a boat here, and the dock, this giant like dock, like industrial dock, was kind of like half finished for a long time. And then my friend came on, and they decided they wanted to finish it, and they also built this boat here that I think looks pretty cool. This is the same friend that built all that over there. I also built this little giraffe here, little Stampy giraffe. That's kind of another reference that I did. Um, plank, walking the plank. And you have a little, below the deck with levers here. So you can't see, but these activate the dispensers on the side that fire. Well, they're supposed to fire arrows, do they? Or they have arrows in there. So they fire arrows as like cannons. Another cool idea. Little steering wheel here. So that's most of this area. We still have one more build to check out. But yeah. So this was everything that I built pretty much within the past, well, within the first like few months of this world's life. So everything from June of 2024 to I think like early September of that same year was just like the house, little houses, this big house, the towers, Eiffel Tower, and then also this castle here. And I think the roof of this castle, actually, I'm pretty sure this entire castle was kind of based off of one of the tutorial worlds. You might know what tutorial world I'm talking about, but it was the one with like I think like the secret portal on the second floor, and like an enchantment table, brewing set up. Um, I had like a little courtyard in here. I didn't build a courtyard here, but yeah, this castle is kind of like a semi-reference to that. At least the design of it is. Some chests over here, little throne area, and then down here I have like a little sewer kind of thing. Um, I don't know if I had any other intentions for this, but this is kind of just, I don't know. I like the idea of having like a little um, sort of waterway going underneath the castle. So that's everything that was built in this area. It's turning to night now, so I'll have to sleep again before we go to the next area, but yeah. As I said, this area, I was unfamiliar with beta when I was building this area, so I didn't really know what I had to work with. And I really didn't know all like the quirks and I didn't know all the quirks that made up beta. So I kind of just built things from like my childhood, things I would build back in the day. And that was kind of like this area's inspiration for the most part. At least everything that was built in this area within the first few months. But after I got back from like my break, I decided to go out more and expand in different areas. And so like when I got back from the break, I first went to the snow area. I knew there was a taiga over there. I explored that area briefly for a bit. I went to the taiga, and then I built all the snow stuff, and then I went to Walmart. And then after that, I invited my friends over. We did some stuff over all around here, and then I'd expand in other areas. So we're going to take this railway. We're going to go all the way around here to where we were at the rails way over there. And then we're going to go past that railway to our next area. So it didn't take that long. It isn't that far away, honestly. Yeah. And I kind of like looping around here because it gives you a nice view of the spawn area and everything that was built around here. And here we have our next area. So this was built by a different friend of mine. I built their sandy head over there. And they wanted to build like a little tropical area, so they built their tropical cottage with a nice palm tree. I built this other palm tree. And they wanted to do it on this little island over here. So they built all of this here. And I think they did a very good job. I actually really like their I really like the architecture of this place. With this little palm tree over this little pond, some little beds for relaxing. And then they built this bridge as well. And I built all of this over here. And this is another thing that was sort of like a reference to something, but not. It's not a reference to anything that any of you would probably know, but it's this little resort area. And I built it in reference to there's this old like creative server that I played on way back when I was like 8 years old. And I remember there was this one creative plot that was just this massive resort, like a little hotel and a pool area and activities and stuff. And so I kind of built this hotel design in reference vaguely to that. It was much bigger on the creative server, obviously, but kind of did my best to recreate it sort of in a similar style. And also like all the stuff that's out here was also sort of made in reference to it, so like be careful not to die here. So, like for example, they had like water slides and this little like gift shop area. Their gift shop was in just like a standard building, but I decided to do something a bit more unique, have it be like sort of under like palm leaves and stuff. Make it sort of fit like the tropical vibe. They had little umbrellas with heating, I remember. And also I included this little hot tub area over here. And then I also built this little boat over there. Not much to really say about it. I'm not going to come over there. It's just a little boat. Has a little bed and chest in there. Nothing much to say. And then I built this bridge that goes over to the main station, where you could take it back all the way over there. But also, if we go over here, the other sort of like medieval castle-y area, and also more railway. This is all unfinished, so it only goes up to maybe like over there, I want to say, and then all the rail is unfinished over there. I'm gonna finish it eventually when I eventually work on the area way over there. So here's like another area that I built, another like medieval-ish kind of town. So I have like little houses here. Again, very similar style to what we saw like in the other medieval city that I was building. So here we have like a baker shop. They have a little cake in there. And then here you could go up to like get some like bread or any like pastries or whatever. Have some houses. House over there that's kind of like a fisherman's house. Then over here we have like a mini town square. It's like a miniature version of what I built in the other city. This was all built way before I started work on that other city. It's kind of like a prototype to what I did over there. Then over here we have like the main castle area. So we have the walls here. And we climb up here. I have a little like it's kind of like where all like the guards would stand, I'd imagine. Kind of lining the walls, keeping everyone safe. Have some towers here. This tower is unfinished. I'm going to eventually make a roof on here. But I imagine this is where people would probably come in to the castle. I have a wheat farm here. And then over here we have the storage area. One of the things that I wanted to do for this area specifically, is I wanted to make everything feel interconnected. I want to make it feel like I want to make things feel like you could go in one area and you'll see another area, but you might not be able to access it. But also make areas that like have multiple entrances. And yeah, I wanted to make it feel like, you could go into different areas from multiple ways. And kind of like, depending on the way that you'd go in, and it'd feel a lot different. kind of like a dungeon area. I haven't finished it yet, but that's kind of like the plan I have for it. So yeah, this is the castle area. This is kind of like where I'd imagine the throne room being. And it's unfinished, obviously. I don't know when I'll get back to working on it, but I do eventually want to continue working on all this stuff. I have a lot of areas in my world that are unfinished because I kind of just pivot to a different idea when I get a different idea. Um, I find that's kind of like the best way to keep myself motivated with this world because I feel like if you work on the same thing all the time, despite the fact that you want to work on something different, you're just going to tire yourself out. So I just thought, you know, if I have a different idea that I really want to work on, I'll work on that different idea instead, and then I'll come back to my previous projects if I feel like it. And that's kind of what happened with this area. Like, I built all this castle area at once, and then I left it alone for a while, and then I came back to it later on and built all of this village part. So, yeah, that's kind of all I really have to say about this area. I have these little lookout towers that I thought had like cool stair design here. Walk up and down. So then we'll kind of walk along the track to get to our last area. It's not really a big area, but I figured I like the structure that I built there, so I'll show it off real quick for the end of the video. And as I said, this rail doesn't go all the way. It only goes about, I want to say, over there. So we'll ride this all the way until it goes to the end, and then we'll just walk the rest of the way. Um, I kind of was kind of hesitant to build the rail this way because I felt like it ruined the medieval aesthetic of what I was going for over there. But it was kind of the only, this is kind of like the only place where I can put the rail, so I felt like I really had no choice. Um, with the new medieval area that I'm building, I'm probably not going to have a rail that goes all the way over to it. Maybe I'll build a rail later on, but for now, I don't mind it being segmented off from the rest of the areas that I've built. I feel like having a railway would kind of just ruin the aesthetic that I'm going for. So, as I said, this isn't really a big area necessarily. It's kind of just something that, well, it was planned to be a big area, but it never really panned out the way I wanted it to. I kind of just got. This was probably around the time when I experienced a mini burnout of playing beta. So I built like the first structure, and I had plans to build more, but I just never got around to it. And then by the time I got back to playing beta, I was like, I kind of just wanted to build something else. So this area kind of lay dormant forever. It was kind of meant to be a Halloween area. I was building it back in October, but Halloween kind of just came and went, and this area's just sat alone ever since. So, so here we have sort of like the last structure that I built. It's kind of like supposed to be a destroyed church. I kind of have like the lore that like the Nether invaded the overworld here. So like for example, you have this nether portal here. Like the nether invaded coming out of this church and sort of just like ransacked the town that I was planning on building here. And I actually built this church fully intact. Like every single block, this entire structure here was originally up here. And then I destroyed it like after I finished building it. So I'll show some screenshots on screen of what it looked like before and after. But I feel quite proud of this thing, I think. I kind of like making destroyed structures. There's a lot of detail that you can put into it. And yeah, this is kind of like, I had so much plans to build more around here that just never came to fruition. But I kind of like what I have going on here, and I hope that I'll eventually work on it more. But yeah, that'd be about most of what I've built in my world so far. There's some other stuff that I built, but it's not really of note. It's kind of just like other small stuff that has really no significance, but yeah, that's about my world. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing what I've built in here. If you'd like to see more videos from me, I'd be more than happy to give it a try. And I will see you whenever the next video will be. Thank you.